Hello, everybody. Welcome to Star Trek Iskandar. It is us, your boys and your girls and your in-betweens, the It You Trash crew. It's been a long time, by which I mean a week, because I was very, very sick the week I was going to run this. I just had my vaccination, in fact, and I vomited during a client meeting and then lost my voice. So...
Welcome to the stream, folks. That's our energy. Mike vommed.
I did a big vom. Very important client.
Last week was when Mike vommed.
Yes, this week no vom.
So... I'm not going to go into detail, but I promise you, it's a long-standing tradition with the It You Trash crew.
So yes, this is this is the beginning of a brand new story arc when falsehood seems so much like the truth. I've gone full TOS/Discovery with my title. I don't care. I love it.
You've very much gone full disco on this. This is the disco episode, folks.
I very nearly had a strop. I thought, those that are watching live, you'll see that the name hasn't updated. That's because Streamlabs isn't talking to Twitch. I nearly threw a paddy because when it did briefly talk, it looked like I couldn't fit the entirety of my vision, my title, onto the title thing. So I was very upset about that, but I think it will fit, and we'll try and get that remedied for next week. Might just be a new version of Streamlabs that needs to be downloaded. Regardless, it is Star Trek Iskandar. We do have a system called Helps and Hinders. Minor helps and minor hinders are free and redeemable by trash bags. You can earn more by playing the games. This will cause, and I urge you to wait until a scene where you are motivated. And
you can also pay money for minor helps and hinders if you wish, if you don't have trash bags.
Yes. Anything beyond a minor, a major hinder and a major help are paid for, and involve significant plot points, I believe.
Yeah, basically, a minor is a scene, a moderate is an episode, a major is an arc.
Yeah. So, if you go ahead and redeem a major, then you and I will need to talk in downtime about what you've done to my plots and what you want it to become. However, minors will be monitored, so get in your minors and minor helps, minor hinders. I welcome contributions from the A Brigade and the Hinder Kinder, and there will be ample opportunity throughout this to be able to influence scenes to your favor or dissatisfaction, however you see fit. So, without further ado, we'll get right to it. The opening shot is that of a starbase hanging in the night sky of space. Much like those typical starbases you see within Star Trek, it looks a lot like a spinning top or a Christmas ornament. Very, very sleek design, a few ships kind of hovering around. This is a starbase that has clearly seen some traffic of late. And yeah, we see the Iskandar shooting its little way towards the starbase. Kath, do you want to hit us with the captain's log?
Sure, you corrected the star date, right?
I believe so. Let me double check. I'm not joking.
Only we care, and even I don't care, except for the fact that I will care if it's not right.
That is the traditional way to care about star dates. Like, if they're right, who gives a shit? If they're wrong, they're wrong.
Stardate is correct.
So, Captain's Log, Stardate 57224.0. We are heading to dock at Starbase 183 in the Mutara sector. Lieutenant Casey has briefly departed us as he's to deliver a paper on gravitational lensing to the Daystrom Institute that he has been working on with Ensign Anwar Karim of the USS Christo. While at Starbase, we are going to rendezvous with Lieutenant Cantos and Dr. Burov, who will be returning to us after taking some shore leave at Riser and awaiting further orders.
I think we see kind of in the crowd of this fairly busy starbase, in my mind, I picture it quite like an airport in that there is not commercial sectors, but a lot of recreational sectors. This is the Mutara sector is quite neighboring of the Orion sector, the Tellarite sector. So there is a lot of traffic from Starfleet affiliated races and species around here. And yeah, I think we see perhaps bedecked in riser garb still, the equivalent of the flower chain and bright shirts, Cantos and Arcady kind of hitting the crowd and seeing members of the crew.
So I think this is a moment where Roomba and I need to decide what Arcady and Adina's holiday get-up is.
Like, it's clearly terrible Hawaiian shirts. If I'd been pre-warned that this was going to be the thing, I'd have got my terrible Hawaiian shirt as a phys rep for this. Terrible Hawaiian type shirts clashing with each other, I think, yet somehow slightly coordinated.
I think they've got the same colour palette, but Cantos has got it in bold and saturated, and Arcady's gone for pastel.
Yeah.
Plus, I see Arcady in, like, one of those, like, pastel, like, wrap dress style. Like,
yeah,
you know, with the wrap at the front, the kind of V down to here, but the garish Hawaiian pattern, and like leggings. So it's one of those, is it a dress? Is it a long tunic top? And they're just like, they've gone full kind of, they look like a scarecrow in it because there's like no meat on their bones anyway, but they're just like, yeah, holiday's fun. You know, their hair's slightly longer. They're both looking a bit like chill.
Yeah.
God, they're going to have horgans for days. Isn't those little rising fertility statues?
Oh, yeah.
In the case. Oh, yeah, and also, they've almost certainly got whatever the equivalent of, like, of twatty little wheelie cases, because they're like,
oh, yeah,
we've been shopping. Arcady's drinking something that's the equivalent of an iced coffee. Smells like Iskandar.
Smells more like Starbase at the moment.
Yeah, but it's got that Starfleet smell, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely got the Starfleet smell to it.
I like it.
It's not quite the particular Iskandar flavour, but...
No. Whatever they're putting in the biomimetic gel gives it that, you know.
Yeah.
I think at this point there's
I wonder what they've all been up to while we've been away. Probably not much. No. They wouldn't leave us out of anything.
There is the chirp of a comm badge, and Tharn's voice rings out.
Tharn to Lieutenant Cantos and Dr. Burov.
And a lovely morning to you too, Captain.
I'm glad to hear that you're back at the Starbase. Particularly good to hear your voice, Doctor.
Yeah, I had a brief communique with some security officers about my whereabouts.
Yes, there are probably some things we should catch up on, but in fact, at your convenience, by all means, please unpack. If you could come to my ready room so we can have a meeting. But there are some matters to catch up on you, nothing urgent, but it would be best to check in.
Of course.
I hope you had a good trip, and I'll speak to you soon.
I think
seems like you've been missed.
The scene will change to Tharn's. Is it quarters or ready room?
Ready room? This is business.
Forgive me.
Excuse me, people don't come to my fucking quarters where I live.
We come in, we brought her wine, we've brought her, chocolates.
The father's like,
we brought you one of these statues from Rise. I thought you might like it.
My bad. I was not clear on the tone, evidently.
Tharn's room famously has "no crew allowed" stuck on it, like a girl's treehouse. No boys allowed.
Talandra goes to it and goes, "That sign doesn't apply to me because I don't care."
Who's that for?
Losers, that too.
Does Arcady change before heading to the ready room?
Yeah, I think when you're back on ship, like they're still technically on like their last day of leave, but they're that basically means they're not on active duty. They're doing the thing where they settle back in. And although I guess they could be in their civvies, they're not gonna, because like they're around the ship. Why would they? It's just impractical.
Well established.
When you're on the ship, you wear ship clothes.
It's well established that characters don't wear civvies very often.
Yeah, like in their quarters, literally, if they're being like, I'm relaxing, but then only sometimes. So I think it's come back, drop off stuff, take shower, get changed, go to captain. Like,
sure.
The mental image I have it is, back in uniform, but still with like a flower or something in the hair.
Well, they still haven't had their hair cut, so they're still a little bit like, woof.
Still slightly holiday mode.
We cut to a Tharn ready room interior, and Arcady steps on in.
Yes, of course, it was just Arcady I was supposed to ask, or not Cantos. I misread my own instructions.
Well, Adina's having a return to work with Talandra.
Yes.
You did what to my ship now?
Well.
So, I need to tell you how I flew it, because it was really cool. Talandra, what? It was pretty cool.
How many barrel rolls?
Like 2.
Nice.
Have you done to my Vulcan? Doctor, how was your trip?
Oh, absolutely perfect. Just everything we could have wanted, the relaxation, everything just kind of sloughed off us, and, I think Adina really needed it. Gonna be nice and relaxed behind the gears. I don't know. Hyper gears.
A control panel.
How have you been? How was conference?
Oh, busy. So I would first make sure everything's all right, considering your delay on the Riser.
So I was delayed for quite a while. There was a storm, and I was traveling across galaxy, across sector, and all transport down to Riser was delayed for a few days. And everyone was in a pretty foul mood. We actually formed quite a nice little group of us. There were about 10 of us on our transport, and we were stuck there for a few days. And there was me and this Ferengi and 2 Orions, and we ended up playing a game. It's not important. But we were stuck there for a while, and then by the time we got down to Riser, I had a message from Starfleet just checking in on where I was. So I suppose maybe they were making sure that I was safe, given that there was a lot of disruption going on. And they asked me a few questions about how long I was going to be on leave for, and I said I was fine. And then I messaged Adina to let them know that I had touched down, and Adina was still at conference and was on their way.
So I'm sure that Lieutenant Cantos gave you the highlights, so to speak, of what occurred, but there are...
The Klingons were a lot of fun, but less fun than you might think. Apparently flirting with the Vota made them feel really icky. There was an explosion, but it was pretty well contained, and everyone was really stressed, and God, Arcady, God, I need a glass of wine, God, I don't want to talk about conference.
Yep. So there is, however, something I need to make you aware of, and best not discussed over any kind of open comm channel. Information came out over the course of the conference of one of the delegates had been murdered whilst operating within Cardassian territory. Rivoran Thorinos, the ambassador from Andoria.
Oh no.
And there is
at the conference? No, in Cardassian space.
En route. We do have, from footage acquired from the Cardassian Union, an indication of the perpetrator, who is still at large. This is not confirmed. However, the lead suspect, is Vitaly Burov.
When did this happen?
In the days ahead of the conference's opening.
Oh, Vitaly, what have you done?
which is one of the reasons we tried to locate you, and your delay did cause a certain amount of consternation among Starfleet security.
Also explains why they weren't particularly forthcoming as to the whys.
Yes. There is the possibility, I have no doubt, that someone dealing with the investigation primarily may wish to speak with you, whilst I have already given everyone involved my intense assurances that you had nothing to do with the murder of a Starfleet ambassador. There is the possibility that someone from Starfleet Security may have to do due diligence to make inquiries. I recognised that you spoke to Vitaly in the weeks beforehand.
Yeah, I called.
I have... Doctor, there is no reason why your personal communications with family members needs to be held under any particular scrutiny. These will all just be formalities, and they will make someone at doubtless at Starfleet Security feel a little bit better if they have spoken to a sibling of the suspect and confirmed for themselves that, of course, you knew nothing.
But there are going to be people who think I was involved.
Not on this ship.
That's good to hear.
Doctor, you have my utmost confidence.
And it's pretty irrefutable proof?
Unless something was falsified, which we have no reason to suspect it was. We have footage of the ambassador being shot by someone who looks an awful lot like Vitaly.
That's Big Brother's for you, unreliable.
I am very sorry. Whilst obviously I'm sure that you will cooperate to give as much information as you can, I'm not expecting you to find this easy, Doctor, and no one will think less of you for finding it easy if you are asked questions about your family.
Captain, can I be really honest?
Please.
I feel kind of guilty. Because I think I'm sadder that my brother is a murderer than that someone died. And I feel terrible because I died.
I don't think that's odd at all. You didn't know the ambassador, I'm assuming.
We weren't close.
And this is something that's going to change your family.
It isn't.
I understand, but it also it is. And it's...
Oh, no, of course. But I mean, he wouldn't be the first Burov to do something like this.
No, but he is still a Burov who has done something like this.
Oh, this is going to kill my mother.
Things like that are why you shouldn't feel guilty about being more concerned about the impact on your own family. If nothing else, Doctor, there are many, many, many people who are going to be personally and professionally concerned with the murder of Ambassador Thorinos. I think that the late ambassador can be spared your thoughts, and your family will benefit an awful lot more from your compassion, your time, and your concern.
What's going to happen to him if they find him?
It is absolutely the intention that he be tried by the Federation, as a Federation citizen. And I don't know. That will somewhat depend upon the nature of the crime. We don't know a great deal about why it happened or what his intentions were.
I mean, I'm not going to lie, Captain. I don't know an awful lot about Andorian culture, but I know a little bit about grudges, cultural grudges.
Mm-hmm.
I don't imagine they're going to just go, oh, let him off with a slap on the wrist. It's nothing. Water under the bridge.
Oh, I don't think really anywhere in the Federation that's going to be the response to murder, but
no.
There will be a trial, and there will be justice, and there will be rehabilitation. As the first goal for everyone in this is the minimization of future harm. Not vengeance, not retribution. That has no place in a justice system.
Oh no, I agree. Okay. What is it best then that I do, Captain?
Carry on your duties. No one has specifically asked for you. More that I've given you that comment as a warning in case the ongoing investigators decide to speak with you. But there are no pending requests for information. If they do, it'll come through, I suppose, Lieutenant Vance for now. Lieutenant Zal's on leave, back on Earth for a little time.
Okay. I suppose I shouldn't message the miners.
I would consult with security first. I'm sure that Lieutenant Vance would have to send it up the chain, so to speak. But, frankly, unless you're instructed not to, no one is going to stop you from speaking to your family. And there have been long weeks of this matter to proceed. I genuinely do not know to what extent they've already been spoken to or any of that, but I would be surprised if you're not allowed, you'll be told.
I'll check in with Lieutenant Vance at some point, but I won't shoot from the hip. I'll just I should probably go and inspect sickbay.
Of course.
I hear we had an incident while I was gone. So.
Well, I'm still catching up on that myself.
Well, they say it's always good that your holiday and your work time should have a good, definite boundary between it, and I am back from my holiday.
It's good to have you back, Doctor.
Thank you, Captain. It is certainly an experience to be back. And they trot off.
I think thanks to Married 2772's donation of a moderate help or hinder dealer's choice. Athan, we have the shot of I was about to say Talandra. No, Burov
just
leaving.
Blows up.
Burov leaves, and we see Athan kind of settle back and hefts up a pad. On the pad, visible to the audience, is a picture of Vitaly Burov, and the text on screen reads, narrowed down to 3 sectors. Anticipated apprehension within the next 48 hours.
Oh no.
Oh, no, one of us is going to get shot by Burov's brother.
I hope I have to shoot myself. If this means I just have to suddenly dust off Vitaly Burov with no prep, I will just fucking I will do this.
Look, all I'm saying is, I am certain we could dig up Bree, who'd come in as was it Lara or one of them?
Remember
one of the murder wives.
One of the surviving murder wives.
It's spoilers to an episode that in continuity happened before this one.
That's just how
And
linear
also in
time
real life.
works.
It's not like the character was going to come back.
By the way, spoilers,
This isn't
Burov
a
went on
time
holiday.
fuckery episode unless it is.
Spoilers, Burov has a brother.
Cantos likes flying. We've spoiled that.
Spoilers, Gwen
Cat?
died.
Michael!
When people haven't caught up yet.
Damn it, Mike.
Damn it, Mike.
Damn it, Mike.
So, what will soon become apparent as people are going about their day-to-day is that there is a general calling for assistance from a nearby planet, Tamallia Prime. This is happening roughly at a time that coincides with Casey's delivery of the gravitational lensing dossier that they are he's proudly giving with Anwar Kareem over the coming days, and unfortunately the specific Starfleet personnel of Iskandar that have been requested are that of Archie Burov, of Atticus Vance, and of Adam Strange.
Aww. But I wanted to watch my boyfriend do the speechy thing.
Yeah. You've been requested to liaise with a Commander Daisy, who is one of, in fact, the Chief Science Officer of Starbase 183 for initial briefing, after which you will be departing to the planet via shuttlecraft. However, you have an opportunity to put any scenes in place that you want. Kath hates that plot idea and leaves, which is wild.
No scenes for Kath ever again. Bye, Kath.
I'm just out. Screw this. No. Luke's
yes.
laugh carries.
Any scenes that anyone wants?
But I need to fix my hair.
Well, I think because the conference, the Science Boy conference is happening on this starbase, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, my Daystrom Institute was meant to be like, it's with them, hosted by them, because
Yes.
it's cool.
Yeah. So in that case, Strange will want to say, "I'm really sorry, I can't see your paper being presented. I feel like the worst science boyfriend." Except not that dramatic.
No, I think we can cut immediately. Like, it is clearly on board Starbase 183, within one of those very sterile, airport-looking sections, big, wide corridors, lots of Starfleet personnel of all species and non-Starfleet personnel of certain species wandering around. And the first shot we get is of Strange and Casey. So yeah. Tap me in,
God,
bro.
just Strange and Casey, you're not making me do Kareem.
No, we can't afford that actor again. He's gone on for bigger things.
Yeah, he's elsewhere. Fuck, now I need to get into character and work out how this scene starts.
We could start with Casey's response to that if you wish.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, Strange will kind of be like breaking the news that there's an away mission and there's been a distress call, so he's got to go. And it's just I feel really bad that I'm not gonna be able to see you present your paper, because from the bits that I have read of it, that when it was in draft, it looks like a really good piece of work. So
I'll be honest, the parts that I showed you to proofread were the parts that were the most interesting, and those are going to be predominantly the parts that I talk about. So really, you've already read it. It would just be information you already knew. But I understand. I honestly, I don't mind. I'm not disappointed. Well, I'm a little disappointed, but it's okay. I'm sure there'll be recordings if you really want to live the experience. But it's fine. I know you would be there if you could be there.
Yeah, I hope it goes well for you though. You know, the presentation of it, the talk, and you don't get that one guy who's always at every conference who asks the awkward question that everybody hates. That's never actually a question.
I have a feeling there might be a few of those, yes. But that's okay. We'll manage. But no, I've never really been that shied by public speaking. My mothers do a lot of public speaking on sciences, so it's really not that much of a problem. I've never balked at it. But no, don't worry. I'm sure it will go fine. And if I freeze up, then I freeze up. But no, it'll be okay.
So, good luck with it, I guess.
Thank you, and good luck. I'm sure wherever your engineering expertise is needed, they will benefit greatly from you being there.
Yeah, I'm hoping that there isn't too much involved. I mean, you never hope that there's going to be a lot involved with a distress call, but hopefully it's just something relatively minor, and it's not going to be a serious help the Romulans have attacked this kind of level of problem.
I hope so too. Twice does not indicate a pattern, but that would be the kind of thing that would be most than welcome.
2 points is enough to draw a line.
Yes.
Though you do need 3 for it to be a trend.
I hope it's not that. I hope it's something eminently more manageable.
Here's hoping. Right. I should probably go and start getting everything kind of sorted out for the away mission. So,
good luck.
And he'll kind of lean forward, or step forward rather, and kind of give Casey a hug.
Yeah. Hug, squeeze, a little bit of delayed hand holding, and an assured smile from Casey of in that kind of little hand wiggle. It's fine. Don't worry. And then
a squeeze back from Adam.
Someone calls his name. I have to go.
Yeah, same. See you later.
Bye. He's trotting after where he's been summoned, and yeah.
Sharon kind of pauses for a sec just to kind of watch Casey go, and then heads back towards the Iskandar.
Anything else before we jump to the briefing? Cool. The briefing will be happening. The briefing will be conducted on the starbase itself, mostly for the expediency of departure. So it's basically a fairly sleek-looking conference room with a little hollow projector, several pads on several tables. We see Vance, Burov, and Strange sat around this table. A small holographic image of a planet just kind of spinning around idly, and there is a commander-ranked science officer stood at the foot of the table. One Commander Dazier, who will say, "Thank you for coming. I'm going to try and keep this briefing as concise as possible, and hopefully it will go some way of explaining this situation. It isn't an emergency by way of distress calls, but it is something that we do need to send a team to go and look into on our behalf. The planet that we're looking to send you to is Tamallia Prime. It was a Class M planet and is slowly regaining that station. However, it's had a bit of a troubled history. About 60 years ago, not only was there a great deal of pollutants from the inhabitants' industrial efforts, but also a nuclear fission reactor detonated on planet side. The Tamallians themselves had been living in ecodomes mostly because of the relatively toxic atmosphere, and unfortunately that cataclysm meant the population was stripped down to the lower 40%. They've spent the last 60 years regaining the traction that they had and trying to acclimatize. What makes the Tamalians so interesting is that whilst they were close to warp capability, and this is something to be mindful of, first contact has not been made with them, they are merely under observation at this point, they have since turned their technological pursuits more inwards. Not only has this begun a slightly spiritualistic movement, but also they have actually made a great deal of progress in terms of nanites. This comes into the reason why you have been selected for this. The Starfleet officer we would like you to liaise with, who is heading the observation, is one Dr. Victoria Brott. She is observing alone, spread across 3 different outposts that oversee 3 of the larger and more thriving ecodomes of the Tamalians. Unfortunately, of the outpost she is currently stationed at, some of the radiation shielding is starting to deteriorate. We have a higher caliber upgrade, not unlike one that the Iskandar has recently been retrofitted with in terms of its standard auxiliary filtration systems. So you seemed, as the engineer that has had the most experience in that, to hand the best port of call. Similarly, and do forgive me if this is a sensitive subject, but Commander? No. She doesn't do this.
There are no commanders here. And
No,
your dog
lieutenants.
is losing his shit.
Yeah, he's scratching himself on a wall. I can't do anything about that. Lieutenant Vance, given your situation, this seemed to be a good opportunity for you to speak with someone who is something of an expert in nanites. Victoria Brott herself was trained by the wunderkind astrophysics Dr. Paul Stubbs, and so is, if not the leading mind on nanotechnology and its understanding within the Federation, then certainly trained by the leading mind on nanotechnology.
Sounds like a good opportunity, Commander, yes.
That is the simple in and out of it. We would expect you to head there by shuttlecraft in order to keep your descent onto planetside discreet. I believe Dr. Brott will be able to help facilitate and accommodate any of your needs there, and yes, it will be a great opportunity for you to utilize her knowledge. Any questions?
So the main purpose of this to help repair these outposts so that Dr. Brott's cover can be maintained?
Yes.
On the planet.
Mostly repair the outposts so that her health is not at risk. There are a degree of radiation medications available by the Tamalians, and she, to our understanding, is in contact with them under suitable disguise.
Okay.
Yes, it is not a completely hands-off observation, but I believe she's very sparing in when she does deal with them. You might even get an opportunity to experience their culture.
Certain amount of active undercover observation of a potentially warp imminent species and culture. Any particular procedures which are going to be necessary? I was anticipating we're going to be landing a shuttle nearby or docking them at the observation posts, or is this going to be transporting from orbit? I'm wondering about our best means of discreet approach on the observation posts.
I was wondering the same.
The best way of approach will be to land the shuttle planet side and then disguise it as best of your capabilities. There are going to be there have been drop pods, in fact, to all the facilities, so there are safe zones that we know see very little traffic from the Tamalians, and so it's unlikely that the locals will come across the shuttle.
And presumably landing during the planet's night cycle.
Yes. Other things to be aware of is that because of the still extant problems with an irradiated atmosphere, is that the weather can be extremely temperamental and hostile, is to put it lightly. Most planet-side navigation is done by the Tamalians have essentially skiffs, hovering skiffs that they travel with, and outside of their ecodomes, it is not unusual to wear radiation suits. I'm sure that Dr. Brott will be able to replicate some for use planet-side that look similar to the locals' styling.
All right, that makes things a little easier.
Anything else?
I assume that Lieutenant Strange will be aware of exactly how much we need to lug around to be able to do the repair work. Is it going to be a considerable amount of material, or is this just more you need to rub a Starfleet engineer on the problem?
There will be hardware and physical paneling to replace, but we'll be able to send that with you in a cargo crate. My understanding is only one of the 3 outposts that is most negatively impacted, and once the installation has been put in place, then it shouldn't be a problem any further.
Yes, I think anything we'd actually need, from the sounds of things, certainly, anything we'd actually need in order to fix the problem. It sounds like it's all something that would fit inside a shuttle.
Yes.
So if we're taking the shuttle down to ground anyway.
Which sounds better if we're dealing with possible severe weather cycles, not to mention if they're near warp, sticking something in orbit ain't necessarily any safer than having something planet-side. Mixed bag in general. But yeah, I don't fancy being trapped down there, and if it's got atmospheric conditions which might interfere with transports.
Quite. I think if the weather conditions are as severe as you say, then a shuttle is probably the safest way of potentially having to get off planet side in a hurry.
I agree. We'll be sending you within the hour via a shuttle from our own starbase. So yes, if you want to make ready, you absolutely can.
All right. Thank you, Commander.
Okay.
All right. And so we have a wee montage of the crew getting their kit together. There probably isn't that much. Starfleet personnel tend to travel quite lightly, or they have a utility belt which is worn when they need to holster something. And yeah, we
Maybe get a couple of engineering ensigns to just shove a crate or two into a shuttle.
Lieutenant Strange.
Yes?
Given your understanding of the kind of person you might be dealing with and the kind of expertise you might be having on hand, is there anything in particular that you take with you?
Yes, so as well as getting a couple of engineering ensigns to pack a couple of crates, whilst they're doing that, Strange is going to go pack his own stuff. And he is going to pick up some of his research notes from his wee side project. And does he actually take any of the physical specimen-y things with him as well? Or just notes?
I can help you in that decision.
Go on.
I would like to compel with the tag. I can fix it, but I might have to improvise. And you will gain a fate point for accepting this compel. You
delicious fate points in exchange for terrible decisions.
We see Strange holding the pad and looking at the research, and then there is probably a slightly ominous I want to say ominous petri dish. I don't know how that would translate. That sounds like a prop master's problem.
It's probably like less a petri dish and more something along the lines of kind of more like a test tube is what I've got in my head. It's kind of something about yay long, about yay diameter. It's just an ominous tube, ominous vial.
Excellent. We see Strange look at that, and we can see him trying to just weigh up this decision, and then a nod.
Slips it into a pocket on
his
engineering belt.
You have in your inventory nanites.
Spoilers for what's in the tube, Mike.
Soz buzz. And yeah, I think we see Vance, Arcady, and Strange kind of disembarking from the Iskandar, heading towards a shuttle within the kind of the same docking bay area, and the shuttle taking off. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Cantos, you are enjoying. You're not fully on duty, much as the same as Arcady had a day of shore leave less, but has been pulled onto this. You mercifully haven't had that same problem. You are still enjoying a day of what is essentially free time. And the starbase is quite well equipped in terms of restaurants, bars, recreational facilities. And it's no riser, don't get me wrong.
It's not, but got to ease yourself down from the joys and luxuries of riser back into your regular working Starfleet life. Just sort of a slow ramp down into it.
So where would Cantos be drawn to? Tell me about the establishment.
It's a bar of some kind. I'm trying to think what kind of bar they'd go for. I think largely what they're probably gonna do, because there's a conference happening, that means people are here that they've never met before. So they could go find new people. So they're going to go find a bar that looks like the kind of one that the conference-going nerds have gone to, and see what cute nerds are there to talk to.
Why, my dear Emily, you have played right into my hands. You have.
Does this mean I get another fate point?
No, not this time.
Must try harder.
Cantos is enjoying a drink and kind of looking around at this kind of mostly Starfleet crowd. Numerous conversations going on, some laughs, various different species knocking around, and then kind of down the bar, someone will catch Cantos's eye. Emily, once again, I must ask you to describe something for me. I want you to describe the person that catches Cantos's eye.
Let's see. Well, Cantos has come out looking for cute nerds, so they look clearly both cute and nerdy.
Mm-hmm.
Quite short. Sorry?
I said Samuel Casey, but ignore me. It is not Sammy.
No, it's not Sammy, but probably would fit the description of science twink. Yeah. Short science twink.
There is a, as you put, short science twink.
Yeah, I can't think of much else to put in by way of description, so I think
it's the science twink of everyone's individual dreams.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes.
They've got everything. Short, twink, science.
Yeah. Like in my head, what we're actually going for here is somewhere between Burov and Casey in terms of like appearance.
I like it. They are noticeably not in a Starfleet uniform. They seem to be in civilian wear. Fairly crisp shirt, a fairly low cut V that reveals quite a fair chunk of the neckline, and yes, they have definitely clocked you, and there is that half smile, a slight glance up and down, and then looking back to their drink with the smile still intact of someone who has very much seen you and is expressing interest from a physical perspective.
Okay. Cantos will kind of casually saunter over to their end of the bar.
They will say, "What are you drinking?"
Rosé tonight.
Mind if I join you in one?
By all means.
A gesture, a barkeep goes to a replicator, returns with some rosé, and they raise the glass. Cheers.
Cheers.
So, who are you with? I'm guessing Starfleet.
Yes, Starfleet. USS Iskandar. Adina Cantos. And they hold out a hand.
Trey Exantus. They take your hand.
Pleasure to meet you, Trey Exantus.
I'm confident the pleasure is mine.
Who are you here with?
My family, mostly. They are partaking a little bit more involved in the conference. I'm enjoying a little bit of quiet time away from them. I don't get oodles of privacy, so I enjoy it while I've got it.
And astrophysics not necessarily your thing?
I think there are more entertaining things. For instance, I imagine whatever you do aboard the Iskandar is very entertaining.
I mean, in some ways, what I do is a lot of astrophysics since myself, pilot.
Pilot?
Mm-hmm.
And what's it like piloting one of these old warbirds of the sky?
Old? You insult her. You insult the Iskandar. No, she's not a warbird. She's a science vessel.
Ah.
So you get to go to some more interesting places than you might if the ship was simply military in purpose.
How long has it been since you flew something a little smaller?
I mean, stop helping, Cash. Well, there are the shuttles, but counts as flying something.
No, I'd agree. I do have stationed here quite the nippy little number.
Oh?
Do you want to see?
Tell me more.
Why don't I show you?
Why don't you?
They very quickly finish up their wine, set the glass down.
Cantos does likewise.
And you two head out. We cut back. Oh, we'll get back to you.
I just want the record to show I was reacting to Izzy rather than, and I get blamed.
Well, I
for...
didn't.
You were more distracting in my eyeline than Izzy was.
Yeah, what? Plus, I didn't.
You didn't say anything like fly anything smaller, like this dick.
Like
That's
this
exactly what I said.
I saw.
Also, I want Mike to know how desperately I appreciate flirtatious twink who's like, I don't have oodles of privacy. I have quite a nippy little number. Like, where are you from? So, what slang is this?
Don't say oodles when flirting. I think that's a lesson.
Hey, it clearly worked.
That's a good point.
Admittedly, it worked to pick up Cantos, so that's not exactly difficult.
That is
Picking
also
up Cantos
true.
is not hard mode, no.
Picking up Cantos in the flirting sense is like Zal picking up somebody in the literal sense. It's just too easy. Anyway.
Tamallia Prime is...
Oh yeah, serious shit.
Cut to my serious plot. Tamallia Prime is a rather ruddy brown planet. Even as you approach it in the shuttle, you can see that this is definitely an atmosphere that has been ravaged. There are at numerous points on the planet side thick black-green clouds that are rumbling and roiling with some hideous storms. But as you get closer, you're able to see a network of tubes and domes that look almost like snow globes. And as you're coming closer, you can see that certainly where the shuttle is bearing, these globes contain life. You see strips of agriculture, farmland and fields, orchards, and then you see cities, long-standing, not unlike an Earth architecture. But even from this aerial shot, there's indications of troubles. It might be that the one dome that you see closest to you is intact and is thriving, and you get a sense of life existing within. But further down towards what would constitute as the planet's equator, you see a dome that has been completely shattered and looks like there has been no reclamation. There are no such fields. There are only burnt out remains of cities. You are soon banking around towards a planet, not a planet, you are, well, yes, a planet, but a mountain range on a planet. And in particular, you see that the dome that is nearest to this planet seems to be a smaller city. You can see that there are what would constitute as skyscrapers, but they don't actually seem to be that much in use. For the most of the light, as you are descending upon the night cycle, is coming from what look like clay buildings built around the husks of this city. Looks like materials that have been easier and more sustainable are opted for within this culture, and probably out of necessity. But you find yourself descending into a mountain range. It's very, very obvious very quickly that no travel comes up here. It is bare rock. We're talking classic Star Trek filmed in a quarry rock.
Hey, 70s Doctor Who is repping.
But you do find yourselves approaching a prefabbed door built as you land, built into the side of it. It is Starfleet observation posts of a planet of this nature are probably drop podded in and then built into the side of a thing, and is very much the kind of door that you would expect.
They would have the sort of cloaking technology stuff over a lot of the...
Yes. I did dimly remember that, but I didn't want to make the assumption because I was we've been so close to Romulans.
It's the opening of Insurrection that there's they have like a limited capacity for a sort of cloaking of a visual cloaking effect.
Pretty sure there's also TNG episodes with that because
Probably.
I've seen that.
Yeah, no, I had
seen Insurrection.
I had that memory, but I didn't want to bank on it. I knew that.
Because we went shit Romulans.
But yeah, you pass into a fielded area. There is enough room. Kath?
So I was going to say, sorry, are we landing outside and then walking in EV suits, or are we flying into an area to
like
into
a shuttle
an area
bay
to land?
that's been
You are essentially landing
mentioned.
in a shuttle bay
Cool.
area. It's a little open top, and there is like the shielding, so that a bright flat shield disapparates to allow you in, and then reforms. Disapparates is a word. Don't give me that. I saw your face. And yes, it is a breathable atmosphere in this landing bay area and to the door. No one immediately comes to greet you. You are muted, Izzy.
No, I was mouthing rude to as a joke.
All right. So, how do you know anything about Dr. Brott?
Do we?
There isn't that
I'm not a
much
nerd.
to know about Dr. Brott. Reclusive Starfleet scientist has been living in observation of reclusive society for X many years. Like, she's got some papers out there, but there's no kind of like folios of it. She's not famous or anything.
Why have we been wasting our time?
Yeah, fuck it, let her get radiated. Jesus, where's my brother?
Well, Adam, technically I've got rank, but frankly this is your op so far as I'm concerned. I'm mostly here for muscle and personal business.
Okay.
We're here to do whatever you need, and I guess, the doc's gonna dock.
I guess we'll go see if anybody's home.
Alright.
That would be pretty disturbing if they weren't.
And that would change
yes,
the profile
that will
of the
in fact
mission.
change things, and then it'll probably become more your thing if that's the case, Vance.
It will
I
immediately
suspect.
become my thing. So, assuming that this isn't already a catastrophe, Adam.
Yes, assuming that everything hasn't already gone horribly wrong. Let's go see if anybody's about.
You disembark the shuttle. That tang of a artificial atmosphere as you breathe, and head over to the
filtered air.
Mm-hmm. Head on over to the door that will lead into the observation proper. There's a few lights where you'd expect kind of like, I want to say key car panel, but kind of a hand level lights, and you see that one switches from red to green as you approach, indicating that someone has noticed that you're coming, and the door kind of spirals open. I guess sweeps is better.
And definitely a word, might we say, Michael?
Sweep.
The problem with spirals was I was assuming it was like a bit of an airlock thing where it was rotating open, so sweep has blown has actually changed my mind's theatre.
My fear was I didn't want to, but my heart of hearts wanted to say the word sphincter, and I knew that would just...
Michael. Michael, no.
Michael.
This isn't a stream where we use that word.
Michael, that's not appropriate language.
This is a wholesome universe.
I'm sorry.
Family show,
stream.
Mike.
It's
family show.
Communist space future utopia. There are no sphincters here.
Correct. In the future, there are no sphincters.
The door opens.
Heard it here first, folks.
Oh, it's ruined the plot, really. I'm going to be flying by the seat of my pants from now.
Okay, so it's sphincters open.
It's sphincters open. And
as in the popular expression.
The individual is wearing a Starfleet uniform, blue collar. They have a completely bald head. Their skin is completely white, and their eyes are quite pale. They step out and kind of look you over in a fairly stiff manner and say nothing.
Dr. Brocht, I presume?
No. When it speaks, there is
thank
when it speaks...
I missed what you said.
Oh, thank God.
God.
When it speaks, there is a slightly electronic nature to its voice. Its head turns, you see a strip of text printed on the side of its head, and you notice a slightly rubbery metallic nature to its skin, for want of a better word.
It's going to go crazy and try to kill us later.
No. What? No. It steps forwards. Though none of you have ever actually met Commander Data, there's plenty on Data around, particularly in the months following Data's death.
No, that didn't happen. We retconned that.
Nemesis.
The end of Nemesis.
We've been referring to it explicitly.
No, the end of Nemesis was dumb and I hate it.
No, Data died. That happened.
No, because it's stupid. Because they killed him because he was like, "I'm gonna get old and I don't want to be in any more Star Trek." And then there wasn't any more Star Trek.
Anyway,
following Data's death, a lot has been
Stop
put out.
saying it.
So following Data's death.
You will all have some knowledge and intonation of who Data was.
We all definitely have feelings about this occurrence.
You
Yes.
all have feelings about who Data was/is.
Oh, under the clear mind, though, we say that he's still alive.
What a weird background.
That's a big part of my backstory. If you'd read it, you'd all know.
This isn't Data. But you do have that moment.
That's helpful and means that I still have my follow-up question.
You do kind of immediately click of, oh, it's an android, maybe?
Borg-like do they look?
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay. That was my follow-up question.
Very unborg, actually.
Good.
And it will continue. Dr. Brott is within. Shall I guide you to her?
Yes, please, if you would.
Right this way. Turns stiffly and starts heading in.
Off we go.
Guess we know she's not being alone.
You head inside. It is a cluttered and manic workplace. You've got an idea of what the prefab might look like when it's sensibly arranged. A large middle table. There's a few chambers. Looks like they do have a transport system, transporter in terms of in case of emergency, but hasn't been utilized. And in fact is being used basically like a wardrobe right now.
It's a supply cupboard.
Yeah. There are numerous devices bleeping, fizzing, and all sorts. Hundreds of displays with ranging from pictures of nanite technology to actual footage of this alien species bipedal going around their business. You hear
It's about that. Show us more nanites.
Yeah. You hear rummaging from deeper within, and the synthetic individual will say, "Doctor, visitors for you." There's a clang as a figure half raises, only to catch her head on a low-hanging diorama of some description. She curses and then straightens properly. She's quite short. She's got wild salt and pepper hair. She's quite narrow in terms of features, small eyes, but bright smile. Wearing essentially a grimy jumpsuit, and will head over and go, hello, Dr. Brott.
Oh, Lieutenant Adam Strange, USS Iskandar. Sort of gestures for
Lieutenant
Vance and Burov to introduce themselves.
Atticus Vance, Chief of Security, USS Iskandar.
Dr. Arkady Burov, Chief Medical Officer.
It is a pleasure to meet you all. How was your journey?
Oh, rickety.
Yes, that will happen. There are quite frequently 2/3 of the planet's weather cycles are basically hostile in nature, from radiation to even acid rain. I strongly advise, and we'll get you fitted with proper atmospheric suits akin to the Tamarians if we ever need to go out. There's no reason why we can't. Yes, welcome to my little home, one of 3. I've only been here for the last, I'd say, a week or so. But she will tap, and there is a radometer, which is kind of flickering a little towards the danger zone to Stranger's eyes. Happen to be running out of terms of auxiliary shielding.
Yes, that's a lot of REMs.
We're quite safe for now. We do have. What was that?
Not good, not terrible.
Arkady starts very gently just scanning her for radiation sickness much.
We're quite safe for now. In fact, she does have a little bit of background radiation, but she's been on this planet for 5 years or so, and it's saturated. She says, "Yes. So thank you for coming. I understand that it's the latest and greatest in terms of radiation filtration systems that I'm being fitted with here, which is quite exciting because I intend to be here for the next 6 months before cycling back round to observation deck 1. But yes, also she turns to Vance. I've heard about you."
Yeah, Doctor. Well, obviously your safety, health, and the ongoing security of this observation operation is of primary importance. I'd hoped that maybe I could have something of a consultation with you while Lieutenant Strange is getting to work.
Absolutely.
At your convenience.
My convenience is your convenience. All I need to do essentially is to monitor the planet's inhabitants and to make sure that if they are close to getting close to warp capabilities, that is reported in. Surprisingly, they're not there yet. They came close. They are very close. If they put their mind to it, they would achieve it. But right now, it's all about reclamation of the space that was theirs and the rise of spiritualist movements.
Technologically, Earth is pretty close for 20-odd years, and also almost blew itself up.
Yes.
Yes, it's probably a good thing that they go for a more reclamationist approach at this point. Yes. Less likely to go down the Earth route of nearly blowing themselves up on the way to warp capability.
I sometimes think of Tamallia as a planet that almost echoes the future that Earth might have had. It was once a more widely populated area. Their population has been completely shattered by, and 60 years ago sounds so long, but when you're thinking about it, it's only a generation or two. There are many living inhabitants that were there for it to happen, and remember what they call the Night of Burning Skies. They are truly a wonderful people, and when we have the opportunity, I'm sure we can get down and enjoy their customs. They are quite used to visitors from other biodomes, and so
right, okay.
You can I easily pass when I'm at observation deck 1. I pretend I'm from here, and then when I'm there, I pretend. I switch it around. It's quite enjoyable.
That is good, Doctor. Though I think we should minimize our exposure to locals, unless it is necessary in pursuit of either your observation or our security mission.
Of course. In that case, I'll if I can leave you with Avi I should actually probably make introductions. This, she gestures to the synthetic humanoid. This is the A005, a recent prototype of the Daystrom Institutes. I go for AV5 Roman numeral, a little bit more friendly. The synth looks over and says, "How do you do?"
Nice to meet you, Avy. How recent prototype?
Within the last 6 months, AV came to us at whilst I was still stationed at Observation Deck 2.
Positronic brain?
A close approximation, yes.
We have a positronic emergency medical long-term hologram on the Iskandar.
Fascinating.
Very reliable. I imagine there's a lot of very similar technology going on in there. I don't understand it, but I find him a very appropriate doctor to engage with.
I'm glad that you find positronic brains appropriate, as that is what I am equipped with.
Good.
AV was sent to me by the Daystrom Institute. I have friends in high places, but
Clearly,
AV does a lot of the micro calculations of the nanites in the area. We basically take samples and we're able to essentially reverse engineer the recent advancements that we have not seen in terms of what their nanites are doing and how they're behaving.
the nanites in the area, so the Tamallian people? Tamalians, sorry. The Tamalians, have they developed these for some reason, or is this a leftover from before the, what do you call it, the Night of the Burning Skies? Or
yes, all the burning skies calamity, which they were always on the cusp of nanite technology. They had some early prototypes in development, but simultaneously they were undergoing all sorts of scientific endeavors. They were looking to the stars, and they were contemplating how far one could travel. They have seen distant moons and distant planets and thought that they might be able to travel there with sufficient technology behind them. But since the catastrophe, everything turned to literally a more inward approach. They almost reinvigorated their scientific endeavors with nanites to try and essentially engineer something that would counteract any damage done by the radiation, and through nanotechnology give themselves the capability of being able to move through the atmosphere without the need for heavy breathers or radiation suits.
On themselves, rather than using nanotechnology to re-engineer the landscape?
It is a combination of the two. However, they have made more progress when it comes to engineering on themselves.
That makes sense, but
they have an interesting set of spiritual beliefs. They believe that, and this kind of, I say this only to so you can understand why they think they do. They believe themselves all to be spirits born of a dead star, the light of the universe cast to a planet. So they believe this planet itself is a dead star. They're wrong, but that is the almost origin story that they believe in.
That part's wrong, but there is the old saying that we are made of star stuff, so
they very much believe that, and they believe that it is their destiny to one day reignite or be returned to wherever the star might be in luminous. But this very idea of borrowed time permeates their entire culture. They view their bodies as something that can easily be modified because it is but a brief vessel. The spirit is what matters most. So yes, they are fully prepared to make long-term changes to their physiology in order to reclaim their planet, because ultimately it's the planet that is more important.
And it makes sense if they have the kind of belief that they've come from dead stars, then they're looking at things on the atomic level, and it's looking at, if it's all atoms that have come from the stars, then it's all part of themselves.
Yes.
And, I suppose no coincidence that that's the origin myth.
There's a really big moth in here. It flew at me. It really startled me.
Do we need to take a break while you demoth?
I can't. I can't demoth.
We just all have to live with.
So for the rest of this episode, Dr. Birdhouse is going to occasionally squeak.
It's the synth kind of sneaking up on Arcady and just kind of suddenly stepping into view. Whoa!
The good news is that Izzy doesn't have to be Talandra making these occasional sounds. Okay, Izzy, something. I imagine it's no real surprise then that some branch of spirituality, belief structures that happens to support what they need is what's gained prominence over the last 60 years.
Yes. Perfectly understandable by way of coping mechanism. But still, I could go on about the Tamalians for hours. Why don't I set us to work and we can get started with you at your earliest convenience and comfort, Lieutenant Vance and Dr. Burov. I wouldn't knowing. I want to see the
I'd like the
patients.
doctor to hand. Yeah, that'd be good. But you prioritize getting Lieutenant Strange started, and frankly, unless he needs an extra pair of hands, which honestly, in my experience, we're more likely to get in the way than we are to help.
There are probably a few things where an extra pair of hands wouldn't go amiss, but
you call if you need the hands.
Uh-huh.
But otherwise, you get the important stuff started, and we'll be over here.
Very good.
Chilling.
Then you enjoy your chilling, and yes, let me show you where I believe most of the damage is done. It is exterior, and Brot will lead Strange outside, leaving Vance and Burov and Avi, who is
and the moth.
I feel like such a rube. I've opened the door so that the moth can leave, and I don't know where the moth is, but now I'm cold, and I played myself.
Oh, you poor thing.
Now, just before we go for a quick break, because I certainly want you to engage in whatever you can vis-a-vis this moth, and I also need a bio. We'll cut back to Starbase 183 for a very brief moment. We've seen the docking bay quite frequently. Lots of railed gantries with various ships, and we do not see the ship itself just yet. However, we can see the expression. A very, very smug looking Trey kind of gestures forward to the view of the camera and says to Cantos, "Well, what do you think?"
That is quite a ship you've got there.
Camera pans and we see a beautifully rendered ship. It is where a starship is a starship. This is more of a corvette. It is built for short distance travel. It is very much a vessel built with a more luxurious mind in mind. It has on the back of it chunky thruster type things. Probably not warp capable, or if it is, only at very small levels. But it is very much almost like a very boy racery, glammed up ship. To which Trey will say, "Well, I've got nothing going on for the next couple of hours. Do you want to take her for a spin?"
I'd love to. Shall we?
We shall.
And they'll gesture for Trey to lead the way on board.
As Trey approaches, some mechanism identifies them, and the door swings open, very DeLorean style upwards door, and you are led within the ship. and we're going to have a quick break at this point.
And Cantos was never seen again.
And
Bye!
it's like this dick for a quick spin.
So,
Meanwhile, we get murdered by Avi, who is giving me some serious Alien Isolation vibes.
Again as well.
We'll call a quick break. We'll hop back at 9:30 for the latter half of this episode. Get yourself a drink, have yourself a wee, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Welcome back, y'all. It is time for the final chunk of this part of... What's this fucking called? When Falsehood Seems... You don't actually know the title of this, I've realised, if you're watching live. It's called When Falsehood Seems So Much Like the Truth. I actually did go through that at the beginning, yes. But there, we're here again.
Big disco energy.
Part 2, Episode 1, Falsehood Seems So Much Like the Truth. We cut to interior observation deck 3, Tamallia Prime.
Mike, do you want to start again? Do you want to just
No.
pretend
All
that?
words.
I'm
again.
renaming the planet. It's Tamallia Prime now.
Makes me think of tamales now you've said it, so...
Yeah. Well, interior. Dr. Brott's observation lounge. I think we begin with we've got Strange kind of doing internal panel work, which is very much the actor is poised horizontal on some kind of support, hands deep into a ceiling panel, a device on hand, probably tricorder, doing the odd scan, and there's very much an indication of Strange is hard at work. Under the kind of flat-topped ladder that Strange is working on, just to the one side, is Avi, who is kind of in the middle of doing that very, very quick, sped-up Android synthetic typing that they do, but is addressing Strange and says, "How are you finding your work?"
To be honest, it seems like it's quite a simple repair job to the observation post. It's just one that you needed the parts for.
Would you like any entertainment while you work?
What kind of entertainments have you got?
Dr. Brott is very fond of two particular modes of mine. One being romantic and pre-Raphaelite and Victorian era poetry. The other being the knock-knock joke.
Let's take the knock-knock joke.
Understand, as I go through this joke, I am not actually wanting to gain access to anywhere. It is just the preamble of the joke.
Understood.
As long as you are certain. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Letters.
Letters who?
Let us in. It's cold out here. Please understand, I am not actually feeling any cold or discomfort of any kind. I am not capable. It is just the end of the joke.
I got it. That was a good one.
Would you like another?
Perhaps later.
Very
need
well.
to concentrate on this bit.
Of course. I will not interrupt. And AV continues their very, very quick typing. You see screens and Alcars flicking and disappearing, eyes flicking from side to side as they take in a lot of information at once. Camera pans to the other side of the room where, quite similar to...
Oh, are we in the room? Because
it's
the only addendum I want to add is when the joke is delivered, Arcady just goes,
No, like
meanwhile, Strange is kind of staring up at the ceiling, looking like he regrets like every choice he made there, but also doesn't regret going for the knock joke over the poetry.
Oh, it's gonna be making knock jokes when it comes to kill us. It's gonna be like, here's Johnny, but with knock jokes.
I was thinking it's gonna be like open the pub doors, Hal, but with knock jokes.
Daisy, dandelion.
Camera pan to essentially a standing tube which Vance is in. Vance has to be sealed into a little room in order for nanites to do any.
Wait, what's happening here?
Get in the tube, Vance.
You are in the middle of your.
We've escalated this wildly. Vance, who has
We've
never
gone from
in his life...
knock jokes to Vance in a tube.
I just like
very
to
quickly.
Vance has at no point asked ever for specialists.
No.
Was offered this mission rather than asked to go on this mission, and has treated it as, I'd kind of maybe sure this is a good opportunity to find out, and now suddenly he's in
a Bacta tube.
I feel we've missed a stage.
Very well.
I don't want to bog us down with minutiae, but from the emotional journey perspective, Vance is not here to immediately mysteriously get into a tube.
We will have, in that case, you're sat around a screen, and Brot has done some initial investigation into the nanites and is presenting her findings. Mm-hmm. She's kind of in the middle of an explanation, and tailing off with it is saying, ultimately, the nanites that are within you, they have, it seems, 3 variations in terms of programming: that of repair, of strengthening, and of submission. The submission quadrants of their programming seems to be quite dormant, but from the experiences that you've described, it seems like they do not have any sort of regulator when it comes to repair. Hence your unusual feats of strength.
Uh-huh.
The good news is that with essentially these nanites are lacking a home directive. There is no signal that they are picking up from any sort of Borg ship, and
collective.
So they do. Yes, we would be able to engineer essentially with a secondary set of nanites, almost a buffer that would act as their home recall, where they get their orders from. That way, you would be able to essentially counteract any of the overactive repair commands with a second swarm, basically that would sit on top of the existing nanites that would cancel anything out.
So we're talking about putting in more nanites.
Yes.
And what exactly are the risks or consequences of just leaving them alone as it is?
From everything that you've described, and from some early scans that we've been able to take looking at the data provided kindly by Dr. Burov, it seems like they're very responsive to any kind of adrenal output. Mm-hmm. So in moments of high stress, they overact, and it comes close to the trigger command of repair. This is if we leave that unchallenged, this is going to continue, and any moments of high stress or increased physical activity could well cause those surges to happen. Ultimately, you do not have the you are a very strong and capable man, but you do not have the musculature to really withstand that kind of constant overactive building of muscles, and so it may lead to some degree of degradation.
Alright, so in fact, if I keep it in there, and unless I live anything but the most relaxed and sedentary of lives, they're gonna fucking kill me.
Yes. A long process, certainly, but there will likely be negative ramifications. What I am proposing...
Yeah, death is a negative ramification.
One of the most negative, so I'm reliably informed.
And there's no way to like they're in me, and I'm aware that was necessary for my survival at a time. But if you're capable of reprogramming nanites, or are you not just capable of getting them out of me?
Reprogramming Borg nanites is not something that's possible.
No, we are still very early in understanding the ins and outs of Borg technology. We're unlikely to...
Even for Starfleet engineer.
Yes. The greatest minds predict somewhere in the region of 50, maybe 40 years until we've been able to make any significant breakthroughs.
So then the alternative is, as you say, creating a different home base in me out of nanites to a modulator. Creating a nanite-based modulator within me.
The problem I always had, and the reason why I made the decision in the first place to leave the Borg nanites in place, was because without them, the healing properties were literally what was keeping you alive, and to remove them would have meant your absolute death, which, as we have covered, is a less than optimal state for the human body.
It's a downside, yeah.
It's not great. But owing to the fact that Starfleet's research with nanotechnology is obviously stymied for completely legitimate reasons, we do not want another genetics war on our hand anytime soon. It meant that I couldn't engage properly with the nanites that were in place, so I had to do damage control. Rather than simply flooding Lieutenant Vance's system with more nanites and hope to just pack it on until the problem goes away, there could be a possibility of replacing the nanites that are in place with new ones, thereby eradicating the risk of Borgification, but still allowing, rather than the healing factor, the supportive factor that was in place to begin with. Given that now Vance's body has healed to the state that he is not at risk of imminent death.
I do like your line of thinking. I would urge on the back of that for any such endeavours that we undertake to be done in stages, rather than simply removing one host of nanites and putting another one in. We would need to...
Oh, the shock could kill him. I would not do that.
No.
Negative ramification.
But here's the thing, is that we would probably need special dispensation from Starfleet, because it's technically experimenting with nanotechnology.
Quite so. I do have a little bit of dispensation, but not specifically in this. It can be requested if we put together almost a pathway for treatment. We can easily ship that out and see what we can have given by way of permission. Of course, Lieutenant, this needs to be within the realms of your own comfort.
Yes, of course. But
look, I've been in this situation for months now, and honestly, I understand that there are no quick or immediate solutions, and I'm not expecting there would be, but at the same time, I'd rather not embark on a process which is going to require us to submit requests up to Starfleet, them weigh it up for weeks, months on end, get it back to you. You're here, you have this job, you're one of the leading minds currently alive on this subject, and it's taken months and an opportunity for me to come here. You have other work. I'm not intending on continuing I'm not intending on continuing a life where I'm likely to end up getting almost blown up by a bomb. Let's put it like that, as one of the main trigger incidents. That's not a long-term future. So I am sort of prepared to look at what reasonable and reasonably immediate options we have, rather than frankly become the science experiment for Starfleet medicine for the next 3 years to figure out an optimum strategy. I'd like a strategy I can live with.
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, 3 years is not the longest of times.
I appreciate that might be what it takes, but I'd like us to look at the options with a view of there is a degree of good enough if paired with a, I mean, again, you say sedentary lifestyle, but also if I'm not continuously... Doctor, I'm not planning on keeping my commission for... I've already talked this through with the commander. Adam doesn't yet know. I'm assuming these are big rooms.
Yeah, big
rooms. I'm not planning on keeping my commission. I think it's time I, frankly, settled down.
Well, then that's doubly the reason, because you won't be monitored by Starfleet Medical all the time.
No,
At least on a starship, if there's a problem, then there's a whole team to hand. If you go back to Earth and there's this means we might have to accelerate our examinations.
Yeah, that was sort of one of the things I was thinking, that frankly, the fact that it might not be tenable for me to have a lifestyle on Earth is not really an option
Listen.
It's not a great option.
Listen, Atticus, I know you're worried about causing a fuss. So that's a thing you Earthlings do sometimes, where you worry about causing a fuss. You and Adam do it all the time. It's not going to be any extra work if I gather some research here and continue the advancements back on the Iskandar. I believe we can put our heads together on the ship and come up with a solution that may or may not take 3 years, but at least will be a plan.
Okay.
Because I'm not comfortable sending you back to Earth or anywhere without a plan in place. Wow.
I'm sure that will end up being part of, and you'd end up having to be involved in my, post-service medical write-up, etc., etc.
You're damn right I would be. I'm your primary physician.
Yes, I know. Look, it's all still paperwork. It's retirement work. That's a process of bureaucracy and getting me up. But aside from me getting, optimistically demob happy and thinking that I might actually be able to sleep in a bed on Earth constantly. I mean, night after night rather than constantly asleep in a bed. I get that this is an opportunity, and I would like something which I'm not going to be getting blown up all the time, Doctor.
You don't know that.
On Earth, in the Pacific Northwest. All right, but it's not going to be happening. I'm not saying do nothing, but I'm saying that I'm not going to be constantly subjecting myself in the same lifestyle that I have now to life or death situations. Ergo, I'm not going to burn my body out in the same way.
You're still going to get older.
Yes, and I'd like things to be done which are going to rectify this, but I'm saying it's a different scenario that you need to adapt to. These need to adapt to.
I'm just saying, the scenario seems to be changing day by day. Oh, who knows what you'll ask for next? That you're planning on joining the circus and you need special anti-gravity nanites. It's just a lot to take in one go.
That I'm retiring to go settle down in the Pacific Northwest with my wife and her family?
It's just a lot, because it means I'm going to have to change my plans. I like having plans.
I'm sorry that this is an Nope. It's not a helpful attitude.
No, it's not a helpful attitude. I am capable of knowing when someone's being passive-aggressive with me.
Alright, Doctor, but okay, alright, I'll say, this ain't about you.
No, I know, but you are full of Borg nanites.
Yes.
This is about safety.
Yeah. And I'm also saying that I don't want to be caught up in a process with this, which is going to could take years
Lieutenant
to find
Vance,
a perfect solution.
Up until this point, you have been allowed to remain relatively at your liberty because you are aboard the Iskandar on a near constant basis where you can be monitored. If you go back to Earth and try and live just a normal civilian life, that changes things significantly, and I don't know if Starfleet Medical will allow it.
Allow it?
I had to have a lot of meetings when it came down to your position on the ship, and I said, no, I think it's fun. Under supervision, we have Dr.
What
Light.
sort of concerns, Doctor?
I think Borg concerns, Lieutenant.
The concerns despite the fact that after all of these experiences that I've been through, there has been no indication of my judgment ever being impaired.
It's not your judgment that's the problem, Lieutenant. It's the fact that you have Borg nanites in your body.
And what exactly is the concern? Is this a concern about my personal health?
I think it's the concern that the Borg are famously adaptable, changeable, and unpredictable.
Yes, and what I'm trying to get out of you, Doctor, is this simply a question of Starfleet Medical have concerns about my health and personal well-being, or am I being considered a security risk?
You're being considered a potential biological hazard.
That'd come under security risk.
Yeah, but it's a security risk that's on my ass, not yours.
I think it's on mine as well.
I mean, literally, yes, but as your doctor, that's a thing I have to be aware of. I'm just asking you to think about this, not just from your perspective, but from the perspective of Starfleet Medical. I'm not good at the Starfleet Medical political game. Every time they ask me questions, I just say, it's fine, we're only a Iskandar, don't worry about it. And they're like, okay, we trust you, Dr. Burov. But there's only so much. Oh, I trust you, Dr. Burov, Chief Medical Officer of the Iskandar goes. I'm not a senior doctor in Starfleet. And there's a chance that if it goes out of my hands, you'll be handed to some Starfleet medical team to be poked for the next 5 years. Which I categorically refuse to let them do the first time around.
All right, Dr. Broad, what are our options?
Well, she's kind of sat on a chair. At one point, she wrote down on a nearby whiteboard, anti-gravity nanites, but has mostly just been sat quietly in the background. We can attempt including a secondary program. To be honest, given the nature of nanites, there is a high potential that you'll have some nanites in your system by the time you leave the planet anyway, but they are within Tamarian control, and not control, but easy to basically put into non-function. We can take that as an opportunity to introduce something to your system that, as I say, will override the existing patterns of the Borg nanites and act as that internal home hub. We can take the Starfleet route and make requests, and I can be on hand. I have the capacity to help you immediately, but I am in no position to ask anyone to be rendered uncomfortable for the sake of my own curiosity and showing off my own expertise.
And what is the option of the immediacy? That is the new home signal command base being dumped in me to better placate me, modulate the nanites.
Yes.
Which is a patch, not a fix.
No, it is something that we'll need to have constant revisitations over, but I will be available to you for those things. I believe a yearly review on the beginning, and then once we are certain that the programming isn't shifting in any unpredictable ways, we can then just slow that down. There will likely be changes to your physiology, minor things such as your thyroid might become a little more or less active. You just simple medical things that can be managed with medication and changes in diet.
Dr. Burov, your opinion?
I believe that longer term, the only feasible solution is something that involves the removal of the Borg nanites completely.
And what is the actual prospect timeline of that?
I'm not comfortable giving a timeline, Lieutenant Vance.
Which means that there isn't one. This is pure hypothetical, and we don't actually have a means of doing it yet.
As it stands at the moment, I think this is very dangerous territory for your medical future. The idea of flooding you with more nanites is the sort of thing that could get all three of us locked up if it were any other circumstance, which I'm not thrilled about.
However, the alternative also includes me having to spend the rest of my life somewhere on Starfleet property, preferably with a primary medical caregiver who is, not inclined to look at me as potentially volatile hardware.
It's not fair, Lieutenant Vance.
You yourself just indicated that there are other caregivers. And no, in fact, my point is you aren't that kind of a primary caregiver. However, you yourself have indicated, obviously, there are differing opinions and attitudes. And so if I leave Iskandar, which is going to happen at some point in my life, unless I die, then at some point in time, I'm going to need a primary caregiver who is going to give me a long leash.
I think the short-term prospect should involve mapping the changes to your body that have happened since the incident with the Romulans, the spread of the nanites in your system, and map that onto whatever Dr. Brott's current research is regarding nanite progression. It will take time to figure that out. I'm not comfortable giving it a prognosis immediately.
I, of course, am more than happy to work alongside yourself, Dr. Burov, and whatever mapping we need to undertake in order to be certain of this as a viable course.
And I know that it's not the answer you want to hear, Lieutenant Vance. And I know you are impatient to have a solution to your problem.
No, I'm impatient to live my life, Doctor.
I understand that. It is horrible thinking that you are not in control.
It is horrible thinking after all this time I am still not in control.
And as your friend, that makes me very sad and unhappy for you. But as your primary caregiver, you need to relinquish some of that control while we figure out how to let you live your life.
I think I would like to have serious consideration about immediate options.
Of course.
Even if that degenerates into it is imperfect but can be measured into yearly checkups, regular, temporary surrenders of my personal liberty. Quality of life is a concern. I'm not pretending that my personal health is irrelevant. However, I do not think any of us should pretend that I actually have full autonomy and right to make my own health-based choices.
Just let me know what it is you decide. And whatever you do decide, I will fight your corner with Starfleet Medical, to the best of my ability.
We have a replicator room. It's a little cozy. I find the view from the bay quite interesting if there isn't too much atmosphere going on. Basically, if you need time we can give you privacy.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna go think, but I would like to hear specific options which are alternatives to Dr. Brat's prospects. Because I'm not inclined to hold my life on hold on the hypothetical medical and technological breakthroughs that are as yet not forthcoming, considering that there is little interest or impetus, as you say, Dr. Burov, in pursuing research into how nanotechnology can affect and alter human physiology.
Then I will go and help Lieutenant Strange and put my mind to it.
I'm gonna go enjoy the view.
Vance leaves.
Sphinced off.
Vance sphinx out.
And Burov like stomps over to Strange, who I imagine is doing the I was listening to none of it. But honest.
Yeah, I was going to actually check. Strange heard all of that, right?
That got pretty heated. It's a big room,
Like,
but
probably,
a lot of...
probably didn't hear this, like some of the quieter bits, but the bit where the argument broke out.
Yes.
Strange heard that bit. Cool. Wow.
Lieutenant Strange, what can I do to assist?
I mean, there's a couple of bits I could do with getting taken out of the shuttle, but are you alright?
Yes, you'll find that I'm actually a very competent engineer.
No, that's fine. I wasn't asking after your engineering capabilities. I'm sure they're more than up to the task.
Wonderful.
I was asking
So
if you
any
were
tasks-
alright.
So any tasks you have, I'd be happy to undertake.
Okay. Strange will just kind of reel off a list of parts to go and get out of the crate in the shuttle.
No problem.
And carries on trying to act like he didn't hear any of that.
The shuttle area is large enough that Burov is able to circle around and get equipment without going too near Vance. For Vance, the skies overhead have grown deeply cloudy, and you see that flickering of yellowy green light that indicates that there is some kind of storm. It is very muffled. There is a degree of rain hammering against the shielding of the landing pod, but there seems to be absolutely no threats of that penetrating in any meaningful capacity, and it makes for quite a turbulent spectacle to be looking over. You can see distant lights of the Temerians' nearby city, but there are those low rumbles of a nearby storm. We'll stick with Strange for a moment. Avi is very, very suddenly. Avi kind of straightens up, moves over to basically a slightly raised platform, steps in it, and their head lowers, and the light in their eyes dims. Brot is still nearby, busying with something, presumably something with mind of helping Burov later on.
Are they all right? Strange points up at Avi.
Oh, yes. Whilst the Data Institute has made a great deal of progress in terms of developing synthetics, we haven't quite been able to I say they haven't quite been able to master that of the artifice of Dr. Sung. So AV, as a prototype model, needs quite often periods of rest and charging.
Right.
They're with me to do a lot of micro calculations and very intensive management of the ins and outs of nanites, but they have extensive down periods. Did you like their jokes?
I only heard one, so I don't know what the rest of the repertoire is like.
Nearly the same.
Okay.
It's only knock-knocks.
Good to know. They did only offer knock-knock jokes or pre-Raphaelite poetry.
Yes, those are my preferences. They have the entirety of Starfleet's various historical databases to access. I have elected for good poetry and bad jokes.
Fair enough. Whatever keeps you entertained, I guess.
Yes, quite so.
You mentioned the calculations about the nanites. What kind of what are you looking into with them?
Basically, there is a degree to which once the Tamalians have been able to fully master essentially a cellular and microcellular regeneration, they will be able to begin an exterior life with no concern of what the radiation might do in terms of mutating genes.
Right.
They essentially want a real time repair of any damage done, mutation or otherwise. They can essentially, they're very close to it, and with the right degree of advancements, they will be able to live without fear of any, basically even DNA level concerns or affectations.
That's quite remarkable, really.
Yes,
that kind of technology. I'd love to have a look at some of the research that you've done into it. It sounds fascinating.
Then please.
If that's all right, of course. I don't want to intrude on your work at all.
No, of course. She will usher over to aforementioned tube that was swiftly rewritten. It is essentially it's stationed opposite the charging station, but there's a fair amount of room. Like the table is between the charging station and this nanite station, basically hermetically sealed, and it clearly has a capacity to be opened and let people in. She works at a console, and then there's a little flickering because even though it's micro technology, the show needs to show you that there is technology afoot, and there's a little swirling, and some LCAR start drilling down with some scrolling text and flashing up images of various different DNA strands and seemingly very small bots attached to cells and such like. She says, I have various samples of the Tamalians' active nanite strain. They are, as you can see from this is just a small sample of cells that I specifically introduced a toxin to see them damaged, to monitor the repair. It is currently working at close to a 60% efficiency, meaning that they have not, it will not give them a persistent survival rate outside in very taxing environments, but it means that effectively diseases that would plague them well into a more technologically advanced era of time, if we were following kind of Earth and Vulcan standards,
of course, yes,
they've been eradicated. There's very little in terms of degenerative diseases that exist within the Tamalian culture.
That is quite impressive.
They are a truly incredible species. It's fascinating to see how once disease has been essentially completely eradicated from their day-to-day life, how things have turned more to spiritual pursuits and growth and the pursuits of uniting a people. Of course, they do have a calamity to have backed them and to have made them a little bit more inclined to such endeavours, but
yes, but I suppose a calamity is not necessarily a given for uniting them together. It could easily have turned into the different biodomes or ecodomes against each other, but with this, they seem to have managed to. It sounds like they've managed to go some way towards forming a unified people.
Yes.
So between that and being close to warp technology.
Yes. I even anticipate from much of their mindsets, I don't think it will be very difficult for them to integrate and adopt the idea that there are systems out there with life, and they are for the most part peaceable. They're quite territorial in that they have a great concern and threat for outside presences, which has led to a lot of when I've dealt with them, and has always been quite discreet. But indeed, they are a very open-minded people in some respects.
Mm-hmm. So, how did the Knights actually manage to do the DNA repairs?
Oh, let me show you.
Yes.
And she runs through a few programs. A lot of it isn't too far away from some of Strange's hypotheses. But she's able to kind of go in. Once she has the twig of, I can waffle like this, and you understand, because engineer brain? Yes. Great.
Yes.
She goes onto a brief diatribe, or on a fairly technical level, of basically how a nanite will absorb information from healthy DNA strands, and how that then can be programmed into replicate this here using these protein strands or whatever makes sense. I'm not a cellular
sophisticated bio copy paste.
Yes,
I'm not a biologist.
It is essentially that she's able to talk you through, and once she's kind of gone through it, you're quite proud in that a few of the ideas are, if not things that you had been passively considering, they snap together, like the synapses connect, and you're like, oh, yes, of course, that makes sense. Given enough time, you probably would have come up with this, but it advances a line of thinking to the point that you are pretty confident applying some of these techniques, and essentially the blueprint that exists for the Tamallian data in the nanites, you could probably get a workable strain.
So yes, Strange will very enthusiastically ask more questions about the nanites, and show quite a lot of interest in Dr. Grott's research, and just enthusiastically gather information, I guess. It's not quite nerding out, because it's not that kind of enthusiast. It's not quite the I don't know about this thing, tell me about your thing. It's kind of like, I want to know about this thing, tell me more.
She has been, for the past 5 years, on her own, with occasional contact from Starfleet when the reception can get through. And for the past 3 months in the company of a synthetic life, which it's something, but it's not perfect. So she is delighted to kind of gush about the topic of interest.
Yes, good.
Time will pass. You eventually will get back to work. The storm outside seems to grow worse, and there's the occasional dimming and then lightening of the consoles in the room. Brott will exclaim, "This is pretty standard. It looks like we're getting quite severe weather out there. It might be worth just calling it a night." I don't want you to be putting yourself at risk in order to fix cladding. We have plenty of room for rest and recuperation.
If you're sure that any of the cladding will hold up to the weather, or any of the parts that needed repairing will hold up to the weather without a little bit of TLC.
Well, I leave that to your judgment. You're the engineer. If you think you can work on, then by all means do so.
Let's have a look and see if there's anything that looks like if we get more weather, will something break catastrophically?
Go ahead and roll me an engineering roll.
5.
Superb. Your work has been good to this point. There are a couple of pieces which, there are repairs to still undertake. They will not be catastrophic if they're left alone. However, on a 5, I will give you... There's enough here that if you wanted to push for a reasonable reason to be left alone in this room, whilst others were undertaking rest and respite, you have that capacity to do so.
I will do that.
Okay. So yeah, I want to hear Strange lie to Dr. Brott. I want to hear what he says when he uncovers this option.
Well, I mean, I don't know how much worse the weather normally gets around here.
Oh, quite severe at times, yes.
Is this fairly typical, or does it get worse than this?
On a scale of 1 to 5, we're probably at a 3.
We're probably at a 3, okay. In that case, I probably will do a little bit more just because there's this section of panelling here, and if this is a 3, then at a 4, that part might come off, and then we've got, instead of just a little radiation leak, we've got quite a... It effectively would just become a great big hole. Not a literal physical hole, it's not like the wind be getting in, but in terms of shielding, that would become a big hole. So I think I will put that back, with the weather as it is, it's pretty secure, but in case the weather takes a further turn, probably just gonna go fix that one up and then call it a night.
Of course. Well, I'll be calling it a night very soon, but as you were. Does Kath and Izzy, do either of you want to jump into a scene with Vance or Burov at this moment? This is clearly going to be a job that happens over days. Burov has been able to help and contribute to Strange's fixings in order to keep the mind focused on something. But it is now getting to the point where it's late. Brott is retiring. There are quarters. You are able to camp down quite nicely here, or in the shuttle.
If no one if Team Medical Science is not bringing anything to Vance, he is not bringing anything to them so far as he is concerned. He has stated his requests, but he's not going to just perpetually brood for inconstant. Although I suppose that will probably depend on, in and amongst his shenanigans, if Strange benefits from any extra pair of hands or just quiet company, I think is the most, but that will be for a few hours, so plenty of time for Strange's shenanigans first. But yes, I think eventually Vance will probably venture out and see if he can be of use to Adam.
Cool. Anything immediate from Burov?
It'll have to wait for the scene to play out.
Just help, move shit, lift shit, etc. Settle down. Probably get some tea or coffee. I realize that conversation probably got a bit on the loud side.
Yeah. Is everything all right? I mean, it didn't sound like it was,
No.
but what's up?
I've probably been a bit naive. Or at least I've had enough things on my mind that other things which should have been higher on the priority list were kept getting shunted down. Or I just didn't want to think about it. It was my intention. It has been my intention ever since the conference to retire.
Oh, and just from the Iskandar or from Starfleet as a whole?
From Starfleet. It's not, it's not the ship. It's I fought a war, Adam. Various amounts of bad shit went down in that war.
Yeah.
I always figured I'd be putting my life back together again after it. It's just to spend a bit of time trying to figure out what that was gonna look like. And after the conference, I suppose I realized it would be better to do that. I'm done. I thought, go back to Earth, convince Eve to not spend the rest of her life on some remote astrophysics research outpost. She can do an awful lot from Earth these days. And, have a laugh. Didn't even dare to start thinking about family. Yeah, but obviously that's going to have to be all up in the air of whether or not I am allowed to be far away from Starfleet property from Starfleet medical staff long enough, because I'm sure you heard that part.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard that part.
So yeah, don't sit around on tiptoes, politely pretending you didn't hear anything if you heard half of it. Like, that's not fair to you. We're going to be here for a few days, so that's the situation.
Okay. So what's the plan? Is there one?
Dr. Brott reckons she can do something with nanites to stop them from eventually killing me.
Okay.
Dr. Burov is urging me to be careful, ultimately. And is warning that maybe that's a bit premature, but I don't know what alternatives there actually are other than live on, prayers and hopes that maybe someday someone will figure something out in this area of research which no one is really investing in.
Yeah. Well, as you say, we have got a few days.
Yeah.
And, well, if anybody is going to have some ideas of what alternatives there are out there in terms of nanotechnologies research, they're probably in this observation post.
Yeah. Got options. Hopefully I'll come out of here with options. I just sort of thought that maybe going back to Earth and just having, a regular comm line to Starfleet Medical, a transporter right away would have been enough, but I guess that might have been naive of me.
Might not be totally out of reach.
Maybe. But yeah, that's the prospect. Do something now. And honestly, if I don't have a good alternative, which isn't just hope, I guess it's do something now.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, anything you need from me, anything I could do to help out? I mean, not a doctor, I'm an engineer, but
pretty technical. Right now, I think I need engineers as much as I don't know what helps. I appreciate it.
Yeah. You know what I am. You can always ask.
Yeah.
And you've only to ask.
Thanks. I guess I'll definitely be happy to keep busy, lug stuff around. This is going to bother me more than I thought as a trip. I was going to mention retirement when the time was right, when I'd hammered more things out with Eve. But
well, I hope it works out for you.
Yeah.
This retirement plan.
Well, life is never what we think it's going to be, and we always have to accept that sometimes our plans have to change.
True, but as you say, you've done a lot with Starfleet, so I think you've more than earned quiet life back in the Pacific with even the dogs, if that's
nice.
what you want.
After a long time of thinking I wanted more adventure and serious duty and responsibilities to others, I'm not saying I want to run off and be selfish, but I'm saying that I felt for a long time that I had to do things for a reason. I think it's okay that sometimes that reason is yourself, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right.
Right, I'm gonna walk this off and maybe get some sleep.
Fair enough. I'll probably join you in a bit. I've just got a couple of bits and pieces to finish up here.
So, give us a holler if you need anything.
Aye, will do.
Get up and go for a little stompy stomp and eventually turn in.
Cool.
Depending on who Burov is talking to.
No, so here's the thing. I decided that Burov was basically going to be staying up to help Strange, just kind of until Strange went to bed or until Strange said, go away, Arkady. But then the fact that Vance went straight to go and help Strange, like, I imagine Burov came back from the shuttle with something and just heard them talking and went... and just turns back round and goes back to the shuttle and just puts things down, closes the shuttle, and goes and gets into a sleeping position.
I think that's a nice place to leave that for the time being. So
a place.
It's a place.
It's as nice a place as we could leave it.
I mean, I want to do a couple more things.
Okay.
I think that's I like that Vance scene. I like Burrow's conflict. This is good and meaty, and I like this.
Drama. Tasty drama.
To Starbase 183. A brilliant red Corvette undertakes numerous successful barrel rolls. We see a glimpse of
almost too many.
Almost too many, but not quite. Just when you think that's a bit extravagant. Oh wait, no, it's tapered out. That's cool. We hear even before the camera cuts back to the cockpit laughter. Cantos is at the wheel. Trey is nearby, close, but is very much holding on, braced against the dash, kind of enjoying the spectacle of this as you're coming sweeping back into the docking port. Trey is still laughing about the time as the Corvette levels out and says, "You certainly know how to fly."
Part of it fits all down to the ship, though. You can only do so many tricks without a good engine and a good ship to perform.
Oh no, she is nothing if not beautiful for that.
She is absolutely a beautiful craft.
Hey, forgive me if this is forward. This thing's got a holodeck. There's program 39, hot tub, Himalayans. There will be already champagne. Do you want to go
Sounds
fire that
intriguing.
up?
Why not?
You
Sounds like
you head on in.
a nice way to relax after
I thought so too.
a quick flight.
Go in, fire it up, make yourself comfortable. I'm just gonna get something from my room, and then I'll be right with you.
No worries. Cantos swaggers down to the holodeck.
much like you would find on a small ship like this. Quite compact, but still very much the grid system. A lot of external light up features that indicate, this is a fairly sophisticated piece of hardware and software packed into a small space. But yeah, it's a small but serviceable holodeck.
They'll saunter in and go, computer, engage program 39.
No such program found.
Well, maybe Trey misspoke. No, it's not 39.
You're all being very disciplined. None of you
I
said
am.
a word.
Mostly, I'm laughing at cat stuff.
You did this to me with submission nanites earlier in the session.
I did. I brought this on myself. But in that case, no. Cantos will then try computer. Engage Himalayan hot tub program.
No
See if that
program
works.
Found.
Okay. Cantos will then try and leave the holodeck and go back to the bridge, I guess.
It's basically bridge onto gantry, offshoot rooms. It's very compact. There's no corridors in this.
Yeah.
And so you kind of step out of the holodeck. No one's around. You head up towards the bridge area.
Mm-hmm.
No sign of Trey.
No sign of Trey. Okay.
There are 3 individuals approaching the Corvette. 2 of them wearing Starfleet security uniform, and 1 of them wearing the current century equivalent of a suit, who looks very unimpressed. We get, as an audience, a brief kind of snippet to their conversation. This man is saying, "My ship, completely without any authorization from me. Someone's aboard, and I want to know who." We cut back interior. This body language is very apparent to Cantos as they are coming closer and closer to the Corvette.
Does the person in the suit look like they're actually the owner of the Corvette?
You're beginning to think so.
They have a little keychain with like a red C on it. And they're like, "See."
At least you're not like just wearing a towel or something. This could be
Yeah,
worse.
at least I've still got my clothes on. This could be worse.
They are getting close.
Well, good job the holodeck hadn't started up. Cantos is gonna go look for Trey in the other rooms and see where they've got to, because it sounds like we need to scarf.
You open one set of doors, a bedroom, no sign. Open another set, another bedroom. In this one, you do spot there is an image of a family. Trey is amongst them, but so is the man that's approaching the ship.
Oh no.
Trey is nowhere to be found on this vessel. You have about 30 seconds.
Okay, 30 seconds is not enough time to get off the ship.
Not conventionally.
I'm not gonna jump out a window. Okay, 2 options. I could either find whichever room looks like it's most likely to be Trey's room and hide under the bed.
Mm-hmm.
Or in the wardrobe. Either's a classic. Or I could get Sergei to teleport me off the ship. just say, I'm just trying to see if Linkovich will beam me off.
I like both. It's up to you.
Gonna roll. Odds I try Sergei. Evens, find a bed. That's a 2. Yes, I'm finding a bed or a wardrobe to hide under or in.
You slip under a mostly suspended. It's very sleek. It's like almost like a bracket. The bed is formed into the wall. You slip under there. You hear the ship boarded. You hear a very cross sounding man. He's saying, I have absolutely no authorization from me. Absolutely none. I can't imagine why this would have happened. Is anyone on board? Check to see if there's anyone on board. And then you hear one of the security personnel respond. And they say, their response is, yes, Minister. And you hear the boots of Starfleet personnel starting to look from room to room.
And be sure that when you find anyone on board, you kill them immediately, no questions asked.
Make sure they have, under no circumstances, been attempting to fuck my partner.
I don't think this is a partner situation. I think this is the minister's their dad kind of sitch. That's what I think.
That's not better.
No,
It was better.
I think we get a shot of Cantos, like peering out from under duvet, a Starfleet boot treading all too close, and then treading away, and just this kind of wild-eyed look of, what am I going to do now?
That is exactly what it is.
We cut back.
Like, if there's enough if there's enough space for like Cantos to say anything like muttered under their breath without being heard, then it would be something like, "Oh, Adina, you've really got yourself into something this time."
Perfect. I love
that both the wine NBs have basically centered themselves on holiday and then immediately shot to either end of the I am being a hyper professional and I hate it, and the oh no,
I'm hiding in a minister's child's bed.
I've gone too far on the chaos NB side.
Saying child was a bad choice. There is. But unfortunately, I couldn't just say minister's daughter because we haven't established a gender.
Yeah, it's not helpful how there aren't very many genderless offspring.
Which sounds, childy.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the word I'm actually looking for here. But unfortunately, it doesn't exist.
The family twink.
There we go. I'm now hiding in the family twink's bed.
It is better. It is.
That is
Somewhere,
better.
Athard and Talandra are just like, more tea? Yes, lovely books. Nice. Soothing. Nothing wrong. Nothing's going wrong. Isn't it nice?
Somewhere else, Zal is just lying on their back, getting a seaweed wrap going, I feel sad, but also this is okay.
Sad, but a more relaxed sadness.
Cutting back to a less relaxed sadness. Adam, I'm gonna keep it on Adam Strange for now. You are alone in the room where it happens.
Okay.
You know
everybody's
for a
got
fact.
to bed?
Yeah, Brot and everyone has gone to bed. You know you're pretty confident that you saw Arcady retiring. Vance has pretty much only just left you, and Brot shuffled away with a cup of tea in hand long before that.
Okay. Any cameras or any other recording things that might show what I'm doing in case somebody asks questions?
I'm going to say no. Starfleet isn't this is a surveillance outpost, but the surveillance is out, not in.
Sure, but gonna check before I start stealing shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, nobody's looking. I guess we're going to download some blueprints.
You are able to very, very quickly get yourself some blueprints. As you're doing this, and as kind of it's loading onto your pad, you take a look at the hermetically sealed tube that you know is kind of, this is the thing for application or removal of nanites. You're pretty confident looking at it. It's a very simply built machine. It's foolproof. You could easily begin to use this.
Perfect.
You know how to get in. There is a console within where you can actually actively program as you are within it. Presumably for the removal process, you can program the nanites to exit. Yeah, you're pretty confident that you could operate that inside or out.
Grand. And that's the thing I've got blueprints for, so that I also know how to build it, yes? Or is that a thing I need to...
Building it would be incredibly difficult. You are all too aware of there's a lot of materials that is in operation in this which simply can't be replicated.
Yep. Okay.
You couldn't make this at home. Whatever, if you are to use this technology, you need to do it here.
Right. Okay. So we've got the technology for that's for putting in or taking out nanites.
Or programming nanites.
Or programming nanites.
Yes.
Aha. That's the bit I need, because I need to do some reprogramming.
Yes.
Cool. Well, if I can't build the kit at home, I guess we're using the kit that's here and doing a bit of reprogramming. So, Stranger, he'll have gone through some of the information that he's downloaded, got to the point where he's realised he can't build this himself. Just kind of looks at the kit that's here. Well, I guess it has to be done like this. Puts the pad down. Takes the sinister vial that he had with him and goes to go and reprogram the nanites that are in the sinister vial.
We have a brief exterior shot. We see the storm is building. The blue streaked light of the shielding that allows shuttles in and out is being hammered now by weather happening. A few strikes of sickly lightning causing it to fizzle. We see the interior, the impact of the weather, a brief flicker, a dim, and then an illumination of idle consoles, though there is only one real source of light in this room. We see Strange within the chamber of the nanite machine. The consoles that are within are showing basically a progress bar. You can see on one side Brot's existing nanites, the ones that were developed by the Tamalians for repair. We see on another screen the nanites in Strange's possession. And we see the progress bar very clearly indicating that that programming is being transferred over. Part of your doing this has meant that in order to get full access, there needs to be a pseudo-biological interface, which means test tube no good. You need them out.
Well, I guess I use me then.
We see the apprehension with the certainty on Strange's face.
Yeah, there's very much that, he'll try and get it as far as he can just using test tube, because he knows what this actually is. He's quite reluctant to take it. He's a bit reluctant to take it to beyond that point. And then he looks at the console, sighs. Has to be done. And then puts his hand into the machine.
Once the hand is in the machine, we get the external shot again. A vicious strike. The shielding immediately fails. Around and outside the room, we see sparks flying from consoles. Strange looks up, alarmed, and tries to remove the hand, but something clamps it down. The room is flooded with flashing red light. Red and then darkness. Red and then darkness. And then the computer voice of a typical Starfleet console starts rounding off numerous errors. You are flooded with panic as you realize that there is no way to disengage from this machine now. One of the consoles to your left erupts into sparks. A searing, shrill pain begins in the ears as you realize that the nanites are active and they're doing something. But on the consoles that remain, that what once showed the progress bars, they are now showing errors. You reel, pinned as you are in the chamber. You are screaming. The pain is so thorough that you cannot stop screaming. And everything begins to erupt. Sparks from within the chamber, illuminating Strange for the briefest of moments as the pain overwhelms and he begins to pass out. The room plunges into darkness. We see the faint, dim console light illuminating the curve of the interior of the tube. We have just watched this as if we were stood next to Strange. The camera pans. We can see the faint outline of the charging chamber that stands in the room opposite. And we see two yellow lights illuminate.
You made it go evil!
Ladies, gentlemen, and those that don't fit into those categories, that was Star Trek Iskandar.
Oops.
Oopsie poopsie.
Honestly, like, Vance got this screaming, things are exploding, Vance comes out, it's like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, Arkady goes, I love that you and I were having the argument, and yet it's Adam that's done the dumb fucking thing.
From our perspective, we have no idea why. What?
Yeah. I'm glad that I have a week to fully prepare for how incandescently furious Arkady's going to be about this.
Emily, have yourself another fate point for fully buying into what was a trap for you to fall into.
Like, I'd had this kind of scene in my head for a while of how this shit was gonna go down. This went too far off what I had planned.
Expect the lightning storm.
I wasn't expecting the lightning. That's true. I wasn't expecting it to be quite so dramatic.
Now I'm gonna have to kill this fucking robot.
Yeah.
Now this robot dies. You just stride in. Amy's like, "Hello," just bam. No.
No.
No. It doesn't even say hello. All it says is, knock knock.
Yeah, exactly. This is its motif for when it goes full fucking The Shining. It does knock knock jokes.
Yeah. I'm nothing if transparent.
God,
Yeah.
it really is hell. It's hell, but instead of Daisy, it's knock knock.
So the moment I saw that thing, I knew it was going to try to kill us eventually.
Oh, absolutely.
I had faith. I had faith that it wasn't going to, and Mike let me down.
Oh, I guess we're on the
Izzy.
dangers of technology today rather than on the positives of technology this episode.
Like,
Oh.
we should know by now that if a robot turns up...
In the first act, then it will eventually turn evil and try to kill you by the third.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Chekhov's gun. Who gave that robot a gun?
Who gave Chekhov a gun?
Yeah, why is Chekhov in this? Why has he got a gun?
Oh, good. Another Russian friend. I'd like Chekhov to be here, please. I want to go home. I don't like this. I came back off holiday and I'm having the worst day.
I just want to go home and live with like my wife and a dog.
I was like, I'll do one more job.
I just
want to
help my boyfriend be better.
No. Listen, you're a biohazard. You're an idiot. My brother is a murderer.
I might also be a biohazard as well as an idiot. Who knows?
My brother is a murderer who now might have to show up in this episode.
Which will lead to Kat having to do 2 accents, which I know she doesn't want to have to do. And then at the same time as that, you're making me have to be the responsible one. I'm the light, breezy, happy-go-lucky one. That's how this works. I don't have to come in here and micromanage both of you when it's like, oh, I'm really sad because I don't get to go and be with my wife while I'm full of Borg nanites. I'm going to put my hand inside the nanite machine for no sense of personal safety. And Arcady's going to have to clean up after us. I'm so angry.
It was your own fault because Burov made a callback. And remember how I'm really good at engineering? Remember that time how I had to crawl Die Hard style through the Cardassian death trap to save everybody's fucking lives and brains?
I'm a frontier engineer. What can I say? I do quite like the idea that Arcady is the only responsible one in any given circumstance, but you wouldn't know it because they're so fey.
I'd like to say Vance has yet to do anything irresponsible.
No, but
I'm sure that the current circumstances where the stakes are high enough to maybe deprive him of his hope.
To be honest, I suspect whatever Vance does is going to be way more responsible than anything that any of my characters have done thus far.
That's sure, but I'm not sure from here he's going to help.
I'd be surprised if he could make things much worse.
Grumposaurus, idiot sandwich.
Adam, have you just destroyed thy most immediate opportunity to go home and live a happy life because you dicked around with the technology and may
we don't know if I broke it, and also like all the blueprints are still here.
And the doctor's gonna die. She's gonna die. Let's face it, she's dead. She's dead. The best man who could save
might not be.
She's gonna be dead, Adam.
It might all be fine.
I'm gonna be so angry.
She's so dead. Dr. Brot is dead. We should make our peace with that now.
No, we don't know for certain that the robot's gonna kill Dr. Brot while saying knock knock, who's there.
We do know for certain that Dr. Arkady Burov is going to kill Adam Strange with their bare hands.
That's a given. Like, we know for a certainty that's going to happen. What we don't know is whether Avi's going to pick up Dr. Brot by the throat, pin them against the wall and say knock knock, and then just like choke the life out of them after Dr. Brot replies who's there.
And
hopefully,
then afterwards recite some pre-Raphaelite poetry as she lies on the ground.
Maybe.
I'll go, Adam next.
Frankenstein. I know that's not pre-Raphaelite, but it seems appropriate.
It's not pre-Raphaelite, nor is it poetry.
The title is from.
They said that other things other than poetry were allowed. In fact, they said Victorian novels were included on the list of things that they say. So
going to.
The episode title is a quote from Frankenstein.
Hey, I forgot about that. I forgot what's in Frankenstein.
I want to go home.
Izzy, you could take us away with the patrons when you've got the emotional clarity to do so.
What's an emotional clarity?
Arkady is not supposed to be the responsible one.
Being grumpy isn't irresponsible. Yeah.
No, but having to go, you can't just go back to Earth because you're full of Borg. If you want to do experimental medicine, ask the doctor for help!
wasn't sure.
Adina, move over. I'm hiding under the bed with you.
I didn't know if this episode premise would land. I was like, I'm pretty confident it's a good idea, but I'm not sure. I'm pretty happy so far.
You've given us Frankenstein with full lightning storm and lab explosions.
Oh, I get to fulfill my lifelong literature student dream of slapping the shit out of Victor fucking Frankenstein.
We're all getting what we want.
Why did you think this was a good idea, you idiot boy?
Victoria Brott.
Anyway.
So prepare yourself, patrons, for this patron extravaganza by me, Izzy, who is completely normal and calm and not angry at all. So get your trash bags ready for this glorious gaggle of guys, gals, both and neither, who support us through all our difficulties and things, and support me yelling about things that make me cross in the world. So lots of love to the Armchair Egyptologist, Ken Poyner, Kiwi Tokoeka, Photosynthetic, Eligos Alexander, Liz Murphy, Michael Kreese, Andre Cherubnin, Joe, Lou Sutcliffe, Ara Loki, Socky, Henry Prestige, Caffeine Kitty, Hobbs, 138, James Malloy, Mike Fielding, Michael Bowman, some joke about Mike that I can't think because I'm incandescent with rage. Mike, not Kilburn. Yeah, nailed it. Got him. And of course, everyone's favourite named member of the trash crew, the one who has a name that will echo through the ages, who wouldn't put up with this kind of shenanigans. And who also in a recent D&D game played a Warforged, very in line with AV, which is kind of distressing. Helena Handbasket.
Cool.
Now I'm going to go and try and bring my cortisol levels down and scream forever.
See you next week. Bye.